Hi, welcome to the Coffee Chat Show here on Buzzin Pattaya, the show where we talk about things that are happening right here, right now, as well as general news, tips, information and advice. I was feeling a bit lonely today, feeling a bit, I don't know what to do, and I thought, what better than come and join you guys? Joining me on the show, Steve, how you doing, my friend?
Nice to meet you.
Marc, how you doing?
Hello,
do
buddy.
I know you? We got Brian with us, great. So now listen guys, today is a two-part show. And what we're going to do is, first of all, I want these guys to share. They got 75 years of living here in Pattaya. Can you believe that? 75 years. That's more than I've been alive.
That's between us, by the way.
I
know he looks old, but he's not that old.
Oh, you don't look that old. I think you look pretty dapper for 28.
Don't worry.
And
man, body.
and in part two, what we're going to do is, the whole purpose of this interview is firstly to talk about the good things and talk about what we are perceiving to be, they're living the dream, this is fantastic, these guys are just, up there with the best of the best. But there's also a very, very valid and a very important message that we also want to get across, and more so in part two. So let's talk about things then, guys. Steve, when were you first here? Oh, here we go.
That long ago.
Was it in the Stone Age years?
About 96 when I actually moved to live here.
Yeah.
But it was 80 something when I first came, 85 or 6.
But you were heading to Australia and you ended up in Bangkok. What was that, a left turn, Clyde, a wrong angle?
I had to change flights because it was a long haul flight direct by Qantas. But it changed flights and I had 3 nights in Singapore, but they dropped me off in Bangkok to change plane to go to Singapore. And I had a night then. It ended up being a week.
See, what, you slip out the old baggage chute, was it? I'm staying here, I'm not going back.
Just everything was so cheap in those days. A packet of cigarettes and a beer for £1,
Wow. Marc, similar kind of situation. You were aiming at Tenerife and then you ended up in Thailand. I mean, it begins with the same letter, so it's kind of close. I mean, what happened to you?
Yeah, I was between jobs and I went into the travel agent and said, right, I want to go to Tenerife for 10 days. And they said, well, no flights there. Go to take this package tour to Pattaya.
Yeah.
So I did. I came for 10 days and that was it. Just fell in love with the place and
He went home for one day and came back to Pattaya the very next day.
Wow.
Is that correct?
More or less. Came back for.
I mean,
for
Brian,
6
help
months.
me, please. Tell me, you actually meant to come here. You didn't get I
meant to come here. I came first in early 72 on the way back from training in Japan. The plane broke down in Bangkok. What a lovely place to break down.
Damn.
Well, I didn't know anything about Thailand, but when I got here, the plane broke down, as I said. They put us in a hotel in Bangkok itself, and that was in 72. And I lived in Japan in 63.
Wow.
In Japan when I was training for judo.
Yeah.
And Thailand reminded me of Japan back in 63.
Oh, okay.
It was very similar. You could walk out and get stuff off a little street market, and
lovely.
and I was really enthralled by the fact that it was very similar to what I'd had experienced back in 10 years before.
Well, it must have been good because all three of you ended up living here. I mean, Steve, you came here first. 1995, I've got you down. I had to take a load of notes because these guys have been here so long. 1995, you first set foot here to stay here. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Marc, 1996.
Correct. Yeah.
Brian, 2000.
Yeah, no, 1999, December 1999, a couple of weeks before 2000. Yeah.
So you were still actually grafting for a living while these two were just making up their mind what to do.
I've grafted all my life, honestly.
You have been busy, I can tell you that.
Little tell me.
He hasn't stopped, bless him, he hasn't stopped. All right, so what I want to do is just share with the guys watching this about, what you did when you first came in. Now, Steve, you've probably led, let's say, the most colourful of the lifestyles here in terms of like what you've been doing. I mean, I got down here, you were age 33 and you started off working toy bars as the manager there in toy bars in Soi 2 back in 1995. I mean, what was that like?
Oh, brilliant.
Brilliant, that's it. Right, well, let's move on then.
Well, I was only here for 2-week holiday and she offered me a job and I said, what, you want to pay me to stay here?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no question here, it said, yes, plus, sorry.
Fantastic.
So that's how I ended up to be here to start with.
Yeah.
And after 2 weeks, she turned around to me and said, I'm sorry, I can't afford to pay you.
You went to rock and roll,
my
buddy,
ticket's ripped up, I'm here, so I went and saw her ex-boyfriend who she'd fallen out with, and he gave me a job straight away to get back at her. So
brilliant.
I got a job, walked out of one job into another job. Then I proceeded to run his rock and roll bar in Soi 2, which is no longer there, obviously. Then I went into Classroom 2 a go-go, running that, which was fantastic. Then he bought another bar down in Pattaya 2, which was Misty's.
Yeah.
So I went on to run that. And after running that for quite a while, for about 2 years, I've started to open my own place, which was Pussy Galore back in '99.
Pussy Galore, wow. Who remembers Pussy
I
Galore?
remember Pussy Galore.
Drop your comment, do you remember it?
Which I got rid of, well, because I had some bad health, I got rid of it in about 2017, so I had it 18 years.
18 years, wow. So you literally were living the dream then?
Yeah. And when I knew I'd made it, I've met a lot of famous people like Brian and
Yeah.
Jimmy White and lots of famous people, not name dropping or anything, but
No, of course not.
when I really came to me, I'd made it, San Miguel approached me, which I used to go over to Philippines for holidays many times.
Yeah.
And I liked their beer. Well, they came in and approached me to sponsor me Pearl League and
Wow.
introduce their beer to Thailand.
Wow.
And I thought, a big corporation like that coming and asking me if they can sponsor my Pearl League and help them to get into this country with their brand of beer and everything.
That's fantastic.
It was
That's
a real
unbelievable,
yeah.
achievement. And I've always been grateful to them since,
Yeah.
because they made me feel good about it, but I also helped them as well.
Yeah.
And anything I've ever done since, they've always sponsored me.
Wow.
And what a great company, and they've never...
There's 15
Refuse,
bottles of
isn't it?
San Miguel on the table, by the way.
Excellent. Well, we'll just call it a day now because we're going to get on there.
Yeah, see you all.
Oh, brilliant. But we're going to come on to a lot more about like some of the more
Yeah.
interesting things you've done. I mean, Mark, I've got you down here as age 38. You 1997. You worked at the British American Language Institute in Bangkok.
Yeah,
I mean, what went wrong? He's in the go-go scene and you're in a school teaching.
yeah. Well, he was having fun, and I had to do some grafting, and I only did it for about 6 months, and then I came back to Pattaya and coached tennis for about a year. I'm not a tennis player or anything like that. But
Good ball control though.
Yeah, you know, I know how to control my balls, and
Yeah.
a few Korean housewives needed someone to hit a ball about, and so I did that for them, and even up teaching at the St. Stephen's School in Borough Park. So
Wow.
it was going okay, but I didn't really feel I wanted to be a tennis coach. So,
Okay, well that's fair enough. Brian, I mean, I've got you down here, young man, age 55, looking like you were 20, but age 55, you began to move towards coming over here in Thailand. But before that, didn't you have an issue with the judo that it kind of like put you off judo for a while and you had to sort of like reevaluate what you were doing?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I didn't have an issue with judo. I just had an issue with myself. I mean, I've been through 4 Olympic Games. I was in the Olympics in, as you probably know, in '64. Then I went to the pre-Olympics in '68 while judo was being recommended in, and then '72 and '76. And then in 1980, Margaret Thatcher asked us not to go, so I didn't go.
Yeah.
And that was when I kind of, I was not known. But then luckily I got invited into the Superstars, which changed my life.
Yeah, who remembers Superstars? You were going like 10 to the dozen, weren't you? I mean, can you still do them?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah.
Oh,
He can
I
do
hate
that.
show-offs.
I can do my age,
show-offs.
can't I?
He was my hero when I was a
can do
kid
your age.
watching Brian.
No.
35.
Per arm. I mean, you came here, didn't you? And you've opened up your own place, View D Apartments, which I have to say is beautiful. You've done a lovely job. I mean, so go-go bar scene, teaching stroke tennis, building your own apartment. I mean, who's done the smartest move?
I think, well, I mean, I've had a lovely life here, and I haven't had to, I'm very lucky because loads of people come here to see me and all my friends and so on, and they recommend other people, and we've got cheap accommodation here. We've got, as you can see, we've got a lovely
it's
pool,
lovely,
and nice surroundings, got a nice big plot of land, and we're very friendly, and we just, we've been very lucky. I've been very happy and very lucky here.
Yeah, fair play. Well, we're talking about living the dream. See, I've got 3 pages here, guys. 3 pages. They've had me up all night researching this. I want to ask a question here, Steve. What were some of the best moments that you've had? Because I've got a few people here. I'm going to name drop for you. So, Jimmy White?
Very good.
Yeah.
Fantastic bloke. Always a gentleman. And I remember once I went on holiday with him to Samui, and he was doing an exhibition over there. And the first night we were there, we went out and had a few drinks. And it was Saturday morning, I've gone out on my balcony to have a cigarette. And Jimmy's come out onto his balcony. And he said, "You all right, Steve?" I said, "Yes, thanks." He said, "Anything I can get you?" And I'm thinking, what, my hero's asking if he can get me something? Well, I should be asking him if I can get him something. And
Straighter shots, please.
something that stuck in my
Steve,
mind.
honestly, I mean, it's lovely to hear that, but we are all normal people, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, people kind of look at you as though you're something up here, but we're just normal people. We, you know.
I think that's a really good point there, Brian. It's something which we're going to touch on a lot more in part 2. But because, like you say, you know, you are a normal person. You know, everyone's normal. We all go to sleep. We all wake up. We all, you know,
That's right,
normal
yeah.
existence. But some of the pressures that you carry, particularly like yourself being in the limelight that you were, especially with the way you excelled in judo and the way you excelled through superstars, etc., you do get put up there on a pedestal where people go, wow, you know, that, and like you say with Jimmy White, you know, and we are going to touch on this a lot more in part 2 about those pressures, because it's important. People watching, you know, you might be thinking, well, what can there be pressure about? But believe me, there's a huge amount of pressure that
Massive
all these guys here have shared, and we're going to talk about it in part 2. Jimmy White, I mean, also you met another guy here called Gary Speed. I've also got down UB40, Ken Doherty, and you met this other guy, what's his name, Brian Jacks. Did you meet him?
Oh yeah, lovely fella.
What was he like? Truthfully, ignore him. He's not allowed to say anything.
I used to go. I was in pushing along quite a lot.
What was he like? Was he your best customer?
Everybody was a good customer, don't get me wrong.
Oh, what a diplomatic answer.
What I should say is, I had met loads and loads of famous people without name dropping, and I thought, they're coming in to see me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to see them.
Yeah.
It felt such a nice achievement that people were actually coming into my place that were famous, and I was getting to meet these famous people.
Yeah.
That I've watched Brian on Superstar, I've watched Jimmy on Snooker, and they're coming into my bar to meet me.
Yeah.
And
I must admit, I don't want to burst your bubble, but did like all the girls on the stage not give it away? It wasn't really you.
well, I never had a stage because how I got into this was I worked in go-go's and beer bars.
Yeah.
But I opened the first air-conditioned sports bar,
Oh, okay, wow.
which was a brand new thing.
Yeah.
And when the police come in for the backhanders,
Yeah. The teapot contribution. Yeah.
my ex-wife actually said, I'm sorry, we're not a go-go, we're not a outside beer bar, we're a beer bar with aircon.
Okay.
And they didn't know what to do, so they just went away and never came back. So that was a nice thing that happened as well. But one of the really big highlights, I built a school in Burleyram
Yeah.
for the children up there and for the girls, it was whatever. And somehow it got from the governors back to the King of Thailand, King number 9, that I'd done all this for charity work and everything else for my snooker and my bar and everything. And I had an invite to go to the Royal Palace and meet the King
Wow.
in January. And my ex-wife said to me, she said, if you say you're going to go on that day, you have to go, you know. I said, I know, he's a very busy man, he has a country to run. You know, I couldn't just say, I can't turn up that day. Anyway, unfortunately, he took ill and never recovered. But he cancelled his appointment on me, and his secretary came down to see me, and they brought me this ring here as an apology because he couldn't meet me.
Unbelievable.
And it came in its box and thing, and I put it on today for good luck.
Oh, well, fair play. What a fantastic thing to be able to say, you know, fair play to you.
From running sleazy bars or whatever else you want to call it, which I wasn't really a sleazy bar as it turned out. I wanted
They
to be the
weren't
sleaziest
sleazy
bar in
at
the
all.
world. But it turned out the class
My
of
wife's
customer
listening.
turned it into quite a respectable joint, really, in a sense.
Did they have a good menu?
Fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, Mark, I mean, going back to yourself, I mean, I know you like a bit of golf and stuff. I mean, what was like some of the highlights when you were here, you know, back in the day when things were all sort of like developing and Pattaya was growing into the city that we recognise it as now?
Well, with me, I was still grafting. I was still working most of the time. So I was living like a life I would have lived in England, Monday to Friday,
Yeah.
working. I took a job with General Motors after getting in through the real estate company. So I was working like a full week, and then the weekends were just amazing, just amazing fun weekends, and I would just had fun every weekend.
I mean, let's be honest, how hard was it Monday morning, having had a fantastic weekend, to get up and go, I really have got to go to work. I really have got to go to work. How hard was that?
Well, Eastern Seaboard is about an hour from here,
Okay.
so I had to wake up at 5 o'clock
Yeah.
and leave at 6. It wasn't easy.
How's your job to get
It wasn't easy, but I was never off sick. I think I got the high non-sickness award one year, and I was
Yeah.
not sick for 5 years. So I might have had a few
What
Monday
went wrong? Why didn't
Monday
you put a
morning
few
hangovers.
sickies, mate, and have a better weekend? Come on.
You got a little badge every year if you didn't go sick, and I had badges.
Did
all
you
over.
like wear that badge? of
Yeah,
pride,
I
like,
proudly wore my.
I was home at 6 o'clock on a
Get
Sunday
him working
evening.
at
like a good
McDonald's,
boy.
don't you?
Yeah, non,
Get a staff for each task he can do.
no,
I mean,
it's-
talking about back in the day when you were here and, you know, going around doing lots of things, I mean, what's like the one kind of thing that you think, do you know what, that was amazing? You know, what, you know, because people watching, they think we live the dream, you know, we're lucky, we're living this dream, we live in this beautiful country, surrounded by all the beautiful girls, the scenery, etc., etc. What was the one thing you think back now, think that was something special?
That's a very, very difficult
I
question
know, that's why I've
because
asked
there are
you.
so many different things. And I'm going to give you a really lame answer. I just love the sun on my back.
Okay.
As long as I've got the sun on my back, I'm happy, and I can be doing whatever.
So you like the sun on your back. So you're missionary then,
No,
correct?
that's a great point, because a little bit to answer your question, it's just wonderful to be able to ride 5 or 6 minutes down to the sea, walk along the beach, see the sea, and it's just and the weather's beautiful every day. I mean, you can't go wrong here, can you? It's an incredible place.
Well, I've left you till last on this question because, to be fair, you have led what we would class as being an incredible life. I mean, you really have.
Unbelievable.
There's things that I want to talk to you about where I'm just like, I remember as a kid watching you on TV. That's how old you are. That's how old he is. I was a little kid watching you on TV going, look at me, Daley Thompson.
I've had 3 faces, by the way.
I mean, if we go back in time a little bit, I mean, age 32, 1978, you flew to Japan to take part in the Kano Cup, who was responsible for inventing judo, correct?
That's Gingell, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
inventor of judo.
what was that like? I mean, as a young lad, I mean, what did you?
Well, that was a wonderful experience, but I'm sorry to have to tell you, but I left for Japan in 1961.
I blame the supplier of my data. He's sacked.
And I lived in Japan from the age of 15 years on the day.
Wow.
For nearly 2 years to train for judo. Then came back again, then went back again for a year to train, and came back again. And I took a boy named Angelo Parisi who won 4 medals in the Olympics. I took him back. So that was about the 4th visit, the Gingell Cup. But it was a very memorable visit because everybody that was in anything to do with judo was there. The whole world turned up there because he was the inventor. The guy invented judo, and that was his trophy.
Unbelievable. And of course, like in 1980, you opened your own sports company, didn't you?
Yes.
And that was with Bev Walker, and it was called Limelight Management. And You've managed some incredible people. I know just a few names here, like Suzanne Dando.
Yeah, Sharon Davis.
I mean, yeah. Well, I was only.
Emily Hughes, David Wilkie. There's many.
Well, I had a crush on Suzanne Dando, that's why I hovered over her name a bit longer than the rest of them.
I think we all do.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean,
just so happens on the picture.
Don't go. No, I mean, I've got some names like Emily Hughes, Jim Watt, the Scottish boxer, fantastic boxer, David Wilkie, Sharon Davis, Kath Taylor, Bob Champion, Neil Adams, judo man, Charlie Nicholas, Paul Walsh. Putting you on the spot. You've mixed and rubbed shoulders with some of like the biggest names around. Who is the one person you think, do you know what, if I had to go and meet one person one more time, who would you pick?
In sport,
in your sport that you've worked with or competed against or competed with. Who would be that one person you think, do you know what, right, if I'm only going to meet one person, it's got to be that
I've
person.
met before.
Daley Thompson.
Can be before or after.
Daley Thompson will be the last person to be on. Hope you're not listening, Daley. But
if you are, drop a comment below.
To be honest, I never actually spoke to him, but I was in his presence. I never got to speak to him, but Muhammad Ali.
Oh, wow. And how long ago was that?
That was back in, it was when Cliff Richards did his this is Cliff Richards' show.
Early 80s.
Early 80s, yeah.
Early 80s, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And people that you've met, is there anyone that stands out that you've met?
Cliff Richards.
Really?
Without any question of doubt, whatever people think, he was and is the most beautiful person you'd ever wish to meet. He's a lovely, lovely person. I was invited by David Lloyd, the tennis player. David and John Lloyd, the brothers, won Wimbledon one year. And Cliff's very good friends with David because they've got a house in where is it? It's not Seychelles. Barbados.
Okay.
Near each other.
Yeah.
And he invited me to Spain for the poor kids of Spain, kids that never had mums and dads and all that.
Yeah.
Orphans.
And I went, orphans. That's it. So I went for 2 weeks, and I had the pleasure of sitting right next to Cliff Richards at dinner. One night next to him, but other nights on the table. And he is the most beautiful person I've ever come across, really.
Fair play.
And the second person, while I'm rambling on, was
Ted Rogers.
Ted Rogers.
3, 2, 1.
I did pantomime with Ted.
Did you?
And
you weren't Dusty Bin, were you?
no. He is a genuinely lovely person. He cares for everybody. That's what amazed me about both of them.
Yeah.
They care for everyone in their presence.
Wow. I mean, you were mentioning earlier about some of the people you've rubbed shoulders with. I mean, Same question. Who would be the one person that you think, do you know what, if I could just tap on the shoulder of one person, who would it be? I'm next to you, by the way.
I don't really know. I just treat everybody with respect and enjoy everybody's company.
Well, you're not
hard to
getting
name
away
it
with it.
for
No,
one.
you're not going to get away with it. Come on.
All right, the King of Thailand. I would have loved to have actually
Okay.
achieved that. It was nice to be invited, but it would have been even better to actually do it.
Yeah, I can imagine that would have been a jaw-dropping experience, I must admit.
To have had the invite was a real pleasure and a great feeling.
Yeah.
I really did want to do that. It's my ambition, and I would have liked to have met him.
Yeah, fair play. And of course, you see, like, we're both sitting here talking, and Mark's secretly sat in the corner thinking, God, who do I think of? Quick, he's going to ask me next. So come on then, you know what's coming. Who's the one person you met you wish you never had? No, I'm joking. Now, who is the one person that you wish, if I could meet someone, who would that be?
Well, first, the one that I met was Sir Trevor Brooking.
Oh, okay.
And
There's a great story.
Sir Trevor said to me, we were chatting about football and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Dave Bassett was sat with us.
Dave Bassett, Wimbledon, yeah.
So we were chatting away there. We were talking about Jose Font, who used to play for Southampton, where I'm from. West Ham signed him, and I thought, well, he's going to give away penalties and he's going to give away own goals. And to Sir Trevor, he took everything in from me. He agreed, and then he said he wanted to get me a cup of tea. So he went up and got me a cup of tea.
I invited him to the Variety Club golf day.
Yeah.
As we sat down, Trevor came and sat next to us, and he kept going to me,
That's Trevor Brooking.
"It's fucking Trevor Brooking." He's going, "It's fucking Trevor," and I'm going, "So calm down, calm down."
He took a picture.
I had to glue him to the seat.
But
He
it
got
does have
so-
that effect, though, doesn't it? I mean, like, especially when, like, you know, you've had it yourself, and I'm just being honest now. You know, when you see someone that's been on the TV constantly and consistently and is reaching, like, the high levels of whatever it is they're participating in, it is very, you know, for people that are not involved in it, it's very sort of like overwhelming, and it can be. But you mentioned it earlier, Brian, so a really good point. At the end of the day, you are just a normal person.
Yeah, we're just normal. All of us are just normal. And when you get to know them, you know, intimately, like, luckily I have been, because I was a member of the Variety Club I'm still a member. Been a member there for the last 30 odd years. When you meet them, they're just normal guys. I mean, you know, John Conti and all of them, you know, Pat Jennings, they just come and play golf, and they're just like your mates who play here, you know what I mean? They're just normal people. There's no airs and graces about them, you know. They're just.
You mentioned
lovely
John
people.
Conti there. I mean, could you understand him, or do you need a translator?
I tell you, he's a big guy, you know. He's
Sure.
not
Oh, I'm only
small.
saying it now because I'm safe.
No, he's nearly 6 foot tall. He's a big,
Yeah.
big strapping lad.
Yeah.
I love John. I mean, we play golf quite a bit together, John.
I mean, we're coming towards the end of part one, and you know, it's been fantastic. But I want to just finish on something about Thailand as a country. You've obviously been here a long time, cumulatively, like over 75 years. I mean, without goes without saying, you haven't sat here for 75 years between you. You've obviously all travelled around. I mean, where would be a go-to place for you, Brian, to escape from everything, to get away from it all and say, do you know what, I want some me time now? Where would you go?
I would probably go up in the hills in Chiang Mai.
In Chiang Mai,
You
beautiful.
know, you can go right the way to the loop.
Yeah.
I've done it on a motorbike, and it was fabulous. I mean, you just get up there, and you're in the middle of nowhere, and the clouds come down over you, and you know, there's just lovely. But Thailand it's a wonderful place, isn't it? I mean, if you think about it, all the different places you can go to, Chiang Mai, you can go to Chiang Rai, you can go all the way to Koh Chang, which is totally different. I mean, from Chiang Mai, the difference is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the people here, they seem to, luckily, because of the weather, the everything grows. I mean, we've got all sorts of fruit trees here in the garden. You can live off the land here.
Okay.
And the people do live off the land. So when you get up to the village, that's a fabulous place to be, because you can walk around the little villages, and you know, they don't need to go to the shops to buy vegetables. They don't need to go to the shops to buy chickens. They don't need to go to shops to buy fish. There's lakes by the side. They're so lucky.
Village life's amazing.
It reminds me of when I was in the Scouts or Cubs. I was in the Cubs and then the Scouts, and you know, you go camping, and you're taught when you go camping to feed for cook your own food, go and get some stuff and find something to eat. You know, here it's just paradise, isn't it?
Yeah,
The
very
whole
much
place,
so. Mark, where would you go?
Well, George Best, to answer your question from before.
Oh, okay. That was a delayed response, wasn't it? George Best, 10 minutes later.
Yeah, but really, no, I just go to Jomtien Beach, find a little space on Jomtien Beach and just sit there and read a book or drink a beer, and that's all I need. I don't, you know.
Okay.
That's easy for me.
Steve?
everywhere in Thailand. I just love driving and exploring. Everything looks beautiful. It's fertile. Everything nice and green. The roads are getting a lot better. It's just a lovely country to drive around.
The roads are fantastic now, aren't they?
Oh, miles. I mean, we've been down Soy Chaiapum lately. Oh, there's now it's not soy pothole, it's soy tarmac now. Well, guys, listen, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences here and your life here. It's been brilliant listening to you.
It's been a pleasure.
Guys, we're going to come back in part 2. Now, part 2, we're going to dig down in some quite uncomfortable topics, things that I think you should know about, and particularly the reason being is that it's very easy to ignore what we're going to talk about in part 2. These guys here have shared their life stories with me. They're going to share their stories that we're going to talk about. And please, you know, come and have a watch of part 2. It's coming up very soon. And we're going to talk about some subjects that, whilst we are perceived to be living the dream, it's not always as clear cut as it may seem. Guys, thank you very much for your time. Brian, it's been a pleasure.
Cheers.
Mark, been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Steve,
Thank you, Trevor.
thank you very much. Guys, that's it from us today here on the Coffee Chat Show on Buzzin Pattaya. Remember, as always, please hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon if you'd like to be notified when I bring out a new video. Check out our members area. More and more members are joining each and every day, and join our Discord group. I might even get on Discord. How cool would that be?
Subscribe. This guy is fantastic. He does a great job. Subscribe.
Now, let's get me money out now. All right, guys, that's it from us today. Thank you very much for watching. Please, as always, wherever you are in the world, stay safe.